Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content. Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life.
Pause up, pet pals. Welcome to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Now, I'm doing a bit of a Snoopy dance right now. Why? Because this is our premiere radio show episode. And all of you are in for a double treat. We're going to start the show with America's veterinarian. Yep, I'm talking Dr. Marty Becker, founder of Fear Free Pets. And in the second half, we're going to chat with another dedicated veterinarian, Dr. Gary Weitzman, president of the San Diego Humane Society. Now, both of these great vets are back on home turf after volunteering their veterinary skills to help dogs and cats and other pets at the Ukraine border. We salute you both. So let's get started. It's very fitting, everyone, that Dr. Marty is my first guest on this brand new nationally syndicated radio show. After all, he was my very first guest 15 years ago.
Wow.
When I launched the O Behave show on Pet Life Radio. Now, guess what? This podcast is still a humming, and it now ranks as the longest running pet podcast on the planet. Marty, you're my good luck charm. Welcome to my very first radio show.
You know what, Arden? I can't believe it's been 15 years, but when I look in the mirror, I'm running out of running out of hair, Arden. I'm running out of hair. I'm getting ready for my 50th class reunion.
Uh-oh.
I'm a little scared. I'll tell you why I'm scared, Arden. Back in grade school, you know what my nickname was?
No.
Barty Pecker. And I'm really afraid I'm going to hear taunts again. You know, now at 68 years old. So, yeah, could be a rumble.
Bring a pet posse and they'll be distracted.
That's what I should do.
There you go.
Isn't it funny about you? You introduced me as America's veterinarian. My mom would, she's passed, but she would laugh at that. It's funny how things, you know, a little farm kid from southern Idaho that grows up in potato country that wanted to be a dairy practitioner and ends up
Look what happens.
Look what happens. And you know, I know I'm chasing a rabbit a little bit, but I was at a cat whisper symposium and I see that beautiful cat over your right shoulder.
That is, oh, by the way, if I may interject, everyone, because this does go on YouTube also, I am in my backyard office called Ard's Den, and that is pet safety cat Casey, and in the other corner, Kona. Hello. Pet safety dog Kona. So go ahead, Dr.
That was
Marty.
a good intro. We were at a cat whisper symposium in Portland, and we're getting ready to give the talk, and we're having breakfast at the head table, and I go, God, this is crazy. I went to veterinary school to be a dairy practitioner. And Tony Buffington, who we both know is one of the world's global cat experts, so did he. And
really?
Then there's Heidi Schaffert, a board-certified veterinary anesthesiologist, so did she. So all three of us went to veterinary school to be dairy practitioners, and here we are at the Cat Whisperer Symposium. So you never know, do you?
You never know. But you know what? Whatever arena you're in, pets are in good stead with you because you've really been a champion. Hey, lots happened since we've talked last, Dr. Marty. And I know I can't keep it all together. I don't stalk you, promise. But last count I saw, you've been to about 86 countries. But you made a very special trip in April. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's funny. Teresa and I have been married, my wife, 45 years. We're really close, very close. And the only reason I mention that, our granddaughter Reagan was home. She went to lunch with Reagan, came back 2 hours later, and I'd booked a trip to Romania. And she was like, WT.
This is radio now, not podcast.
This is radio. And she like, oh my God, should have talked to me. Well, it'd been on my heart and head to go over there, seeing what people were doing with their pets and seeing the trauma to pets. I just felt called to do it. Plus tickets were getting very scarce. So, about a week later, I flew over there for 10 days and I flew into Romania, which is a bordering country where most of the pets were going into Moldova, Poland, and Romania. And I don't have a special technical gift where I could do a surgery nobody else could do or diagnose something. But what I was able to do was I first met with the head of the Romanian Veterinary Medical Association. How has this strained your system of veterinarians? What can we do to help you? And then arranged to talk to veterinary schools about fear-free, because they were seeing a lot of dog bites, a lot of injuries at the borders. And so much of that is related to fear-based aggression. So I knew through fear-free we could help them with animal handling. But long after I'm gone, these students and faculty that are volunteering could help. And then Ukraine's not a rabies-free country. So when they bring in these dogs,
are you kidding? It isn't?
Not.
Oh my gosh.
So they have to quarantine. How do you quarantine 700 dogs?
Yeah.
So I was looking at the infrastructure, how do we help you do that? But then I went to the border too. And I've never been to a war border before, didn't know what to expect. You get there, and remember, somehow I always thought it was the Blue Danube. I don't know why. Maybe there was a song.
Really?
I've been watching those Viking cruises or something. This was the brown.
This is not a cruise destination.
This was the brown Danube that I saw.
Yeah,
and the ferry bringing people over across from Ukraine over to Romania. There's a lot of NGOs. Red Cross is there, UNICEF is there, World Vision is there. And then a lot of individual people locally, but there's a veterinary tent there. They called it the blue tent group, because everything was the light coming in made everybody look blue.
Well, good thing you weren't the Blue Man Group. I don't know. You'd be.
I'll tell you, Arden, it was life changing. You and I have known each other for decades. Our pets are family. Your listeners' pets are family. My clients' pets are family. But you always joke about what would you do, like, for Safety Cat, right? What would you actually do in an emergency if your life was at risk? And over there, I'll give you some examples of what I saw. I saw a guy.
Yeah, let's get one example, because we got about a couple minutes before the break, because I want to do that. So give me something you saw.
Okay, I'll tell you a guy that his city was being bombed. His apartment was being hit. He threw himself over his two elderly cats. And to protect them, he took shrapnel on his back, and he's about probably late 60s. He was pretty beat up, came off the ferry in a wheelchair, and he started crying. And he started crying because his cats were safe. And I met another
tears of gratitude, right?
Of gratitude. And I can tell this quickly. I met another lady that had 10 Jack Russell Terriers, and she was a breeder. Her grandfather bred dogs. Her father bred dogs. She now bred dogs. She had 2 Jack Russells in each hand on a leash. She had 6 strapped on her like baby Bjorns. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, just imagine her with these
and
things
they're terriers. They have
terriers.
Ideas of what to do when.
And she was pulling a wagon with the rope. In the wagon was food and water and medicine for the dogs. She was afraid she was going to get ostracized or judged because she had 10 dogs. Guess what, Arden? She'd been walking for 10 days straight. She had nothing for herself. She had not eaten. She drank water, but she had not eaten, and she had no shoes. Her feet were horrifically frostbitten. I looked like John Dutton from Yellowstone. I was 3 layered up, and a guy from Northern Idaho freezing to death, and she had no shoes, but she was so thankful. I think she's probably going to lose some toes.
But this is the power of the paw. Everyone, we're talking with Dr. Marty Becker, America's veterinarian. He just came back from the Ukraine border. We're going to take a quick break and continue this talk with Dr. Marty. So stay. We're going to be right back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Arden Moore. We're talking with Dr. Marty Becker. He's just shared 2 tales from the Ukraine border. And I know, Marty, you've been all over the world. You've done a lot to help pets here in the United States and beyond. And I don't think you were ever in the military, right?
No, never was.
So this has to be there was something inside you that said, I need to go. I need to do something, right? And I think, can you share that passion that I think a lot of us are feeling? How can we help? Every little bit helps.
I can tell you. I'll tell you 2 things that spurred me to book that appointment and take that plane reservation and take my wife's wrath when she came home.
Your wife's raft. What did you say? I thought you said raft.
Wrath, because she was worried about me, because I could have gone into Ukraine literally. But the border was so unusual, I might not have got back for 6 hours, and I needed to go to this veterinary school to teach. But I will tell you exactly what it was.
Okay.
I saw the story online of that lady that had an elderly German Shepherd that couldn't walk, and she packed that thing for 10 miles on her back. Listen, I've got Cutie Pie in the chair next to me. I pack him from the sofa to the Serta mattress every night. That's about 20 paces. And that's my son. And I thought, my God, you remember when Katrina happened? And that was the
absolutely.
first time really when people would not leave without their pets. So the Red Cross and FEMA changed it to where you could evacuate pets at the same time. And I thought, okay, I've got to go, because there's connections I have and the ability on a bigger level to help the people on the ground. Because long after I'm gone, these people are going to be there taking care of these pets. And right now, they're bombing Odessa in this war. And that's kind of that southern entry there off the Danube and the Black Sea. And you remember also the lady that went to feed the dogs in the shelter and was killed. Yes. That was the other thing. The dogs had no food or water, and she was going to try to give them food and water and was killed. And I thought, okay, I've got to go. And we did a study one time on noise phobias. So I think most of your listeners are going to know what dogs feel like, and fireworks, thunderstorms, hunting season, if it's in your area where you have those kind of noise phobias. Imagine artillery and bombing hitting your town, your neighborhood, and then you're fleeing. You've got all these dogs and cats in a subway. You've got them in a train car. You've got them in cars with multiple people. And it's the most stressful situation you can possibly think of. And these people over there, you won't even believe this. Before I go to any country, I always look at their currency, if they have a dominant religion, what their per capita income is. United States per capita income is the largest of any industrialized country at $63,000. Romania, $6,000.
Oh, man.
Moldova, $4,000 per year. And gasoline was $10 a gallon.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I gassed up the van of a shelter called Sava's Safe Haven. If your listeners want to support something.
It's SAVA, right?
Yes. Yeah. SavaSafeHaven.com. They have 300 dogs there. If somebody comes from Ukraine and they're going to stay with a sister in London, they board their dogs free of charge. If somebody can find a home, but they don't take the pets, or they only take one pet, not two, they board them free of charge. It's a non-governmental, non-profit, family-run shelter. I gassed their vehicle up like a Sprinter van, and about that size, 50-gallon tank. It was $527.
That's a lot of kibble, Dr. Marty.
Yeah, so just think about that. We complain. That's at $6,000 per capita income, but they were giving of themselves, Arden, to the thing that would just make you. You wouldn't believe it. A lot of the local people had made sandwiches. So these people come off the ferry from Ukraine, some walking, the guy in the wheelchair, the lady with the 10 dogs. There's these cars lined up to go through customs, and people are walking along with water, with wet wipes, with coffee, with cocoa. And then there was trays of sandwiches. And honest to God, I saw something I'll never see again in my lifetime. They started limiting the number of dogs you could bring in to 5 per person.
Oh, come on.
There was a medium-sized car. So let's say you go to the airport, you're flying in with your safety dog and safety cat, and you get a medium-sized car. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was 5 people and 25 dogs in one car.
Oh my gosh.
It was a canine clown car. I have never seen anything like it, because each could bring 5. So there was 25 dogs and 5 people, and they came by with the sandwiches. And the dogs all went to one side. You could actually see the car move and kind of lean to one side.
They led by their nose.
And the first dog reached out and he grabbed him a whole snout full of sandwiches. He kind of lunged out there. And it was one of those moments that I'll never forget. Yeah, hungry.
Wow. We're wrapping it up with Dr. Marty. He did go to the Ukraine border. He did do his good deed. I read somewhere that you packed suitcases, but you weren't bringing wardrobe. I think you had a little bag of clothes, a few bags, a little changes of underwear. But what did you bring that was the biggest thing?
I don't even want to talk about hygiene, because I went rogue. I'm telling you, I went the least I've ever. I took 4 suitcases full of dog toys.
Oh,
that's all we had. and I'm going to go back. There's a real need. Most of those pets have parasites,
Okay.
and they're having trouble getting medications and things. But one of the things too, I should mention, I'm on the board of World Vets.
Okay, good. Thank you.
WorldVets.org. That's the place that now, today, tomorrow, next year, a decade from now, World Vets will be responding, whether it's a hurricane in the United States or spay-neuter programs in Mexico or things like this. It's a really good place to donate to. And that Safe Haven is one place they've worked with in the past. And then there's a veterinary clinic in Moldova. Listen to this, Arden. The whole country of Moldova, there's only one veterinary practice that has an x-ray machine.
One?
One. That's how far behind it is. It's a third world country when it comes to veterinary care. There's always a silver lining, I think, to things, and it's going to take a long time for we can help. We're doing crisis care for Ukrainian pets. Someday we'll rebuild it, but Romania and Poland and Moldova, those of us that want to help can help them bring their infrastructure up to a more modern era, and a lot of pets and people will benefit from that.
When you came home, tell us what that homecoming was like.
Well, first of all, I hadn't changed clothes. I can't remember if I had underwear on or not, Arden. But I'll tell you the one thing. First of all, Cutie Pie, my little heart dog, was he cries when he's really happy, but he smelled 300-400 dogs on me.
Yep.
Because I had the same pair of pants. So in one hand, it was like almost paws on hips going, "You cheater, you filthy animal." Yeah. But, our pets live such an amazing life here. Casey's not going to have to worry, right?
Right.
It's just, and there's things we all want to do, and you can't help all of them, but you can help some of them. And so take that affection connection you feel with your pets. Look at people that are willing to risk their lives to sacrifice their pets, and let's see what we can do to help them.
I love it. Hey, I want to give a big pause up to Dr. Marty Becker. He's the very first guest on our very first show, Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Thank you for what you did at the Ukraine border and what you do here in the USA. And I promise you, listeners, you're going to get a double treat. So stay tuned for the second half, because we're going to chat with Dr. Marty Becker. We already talked to him, Dr. Gary Weitzman. And like Dr. Becker, he too just returned from taking care of pets in need in the Ukraine. So hang on. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Now, I promised you all a double treat. Our next top dog in the pet world, as our special guest, is President and CEO of the San Diego Humane Society. And he's also a best-selling author of several books published by National Geographic. And like my first guest, he did pack his bags and head to the Ukraine border to help out pets. Please join me in giving pause and applause to one of my all-time favorite veterinarians on the planet, Dr. Gary Weitzman. I am so stoked you're on my show, Dr. Gary.
Oh, thanks, Arden. It's fun to be on your show for its maiden voyage today. And you're one of my favorite people to talk to about animals or pretty much anything.
Well, just like Dr. Marty Becker, Dr. Gary Weitzman said, I need to help out. And he is a veterinarian without borders, because he didn't just stick in his backyard in San Diego. He went to Poland to help out some of the pets impacted by this terrible invasion of Ukraine. But the one thing that's different than Dr. Marty Becker, Dr. Gary Weitzman actually is a military veteran. You served for how many years in the Air Force, Dr. Gary?
Oh, quite a few.
You didn't count the days.
It seems like ancient history. It seems so long ago now, but yeah, it was in the 90s. And I ended up I was the chief of public health for Air Force Base up in Wyoming, F.E. Warren Air Force Base. And it seems weird probably for listeners to think about veterinarians running public health programs, but that's what they do in the Air Force. And it was phenomenal. I have a master's.
So were
in
you a
public health.
veterinarian and then joined the Air Force?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that's what they hire vets to do that. And, veterinary medicine, it all started really with public health because we were the ones that had to make sure food supplies were safe. And a lot of things, really it's all epidemiology and, herd health, all of that. So
Wow.
we were kind of at the forefront of One Health before we even talked about One Health. But it was great. I loved the Air Force. I just loved everything I was doing with them. I got assigned to an Army base in Maryland later to actually run. You'll laugh at this. To actually help run. I didn't run it. Believe me, I did not run it. Help the program that is one of the largest programs of research funding for breast cancer in the world. And it's based on F.E. Warren, and it's called the Congressionally Directed Mandated Research Programs. And right now,
that is a mouthful.
It's like probably $1 billion research funding program. I loved it. I loved being in Washington, D.C. It was great. I loved my Air Force time.
Oh, I love that. And I do thank you for your service. My family's military, mostly a Navy and Army. But,
okay. You got it all covered then, the three of us.
Yeah, we got it all. We just need a Marine and a Coast Guard.
Yeah.
And we're complete.
That's true.
So, when everything started hitting about what's happening to the country of Ukraine, talk to me about, and our listeners, what was going on inside you that led you to say, I gotta do something?
Well, I think like everybody, I feel destroyed, seeing what's happening is something that we can't even conceive of in 2021. And the last few months, what's the war been going on for 90 days now? So for months, we're all sitting here helpless and ineffective and just watching these poor people suffer. And it's not just that these are poor people from Ukraine. It's just that we're seeing it so live every single day and we can't do anything. It's my family. I have Ukrainian roots. So all my family.
Oh, you do? I did not know that.
Yeah, from Odessa and Kyiv. And I think my great-great-grandfather is from Belarus, so he's from Minsk. But, we go back in that area, and it's not about that it's Ukraine. It's just about the suffering is so unbelievable. It's so needless. And I think I was going insane. And so I tried to find a way to bring some of my vets from San Diego Humane out with me and find a way that we could help, provide some veterinary support there. But there was no infrastructure until I talked to Liz Baker at Greater Good Charities. And she said, yeah, we're setting up a vet tent. Come help. And I just jumped on a plane and flew to Poland. And it was, I'll tell you, Arden, it was the best thing I ever did in my entire life.
You know what? It is weird. It's like we live in the 21st century and we see everything around the world in a blink of an eye versus World War II, where you had to wait for news.
I know. I go to a movie theater and see that.
I never imagined in our lifetime we would have another type of war where a country was trying to take over another country blatantly with the whole world watching.
Yeah, right in front of us. I know. It's still unbelievable, and it's still obviously going on, and it's still horrific. And the suffering is something that is unfathomable to us. We all thought maybe we've evolved. Now we know we really not so much. You know?
But we have pets. And for many of us tuning in, all of you out there, you know the power of the paw. They keep us, in some cases, better humans. And so tell us about logistically, you mentioned about the Greater Good Charities, great organization. But how did you get from San Diego? I guess you landed in Poland, right?
Right.
Okay, so tell us that tale.
Yeah, that was it was I only had a few days to get everything.
And what do you pack? I mean, really, this is not
I'll tell you,
this is not a vacation. What's that?
Much.
Oh, you did?
But I brought supplies over. I brought medical supplies and equipment. And so one bag that was packed was all medical supplies in case anybody needed it. And they did. And it was good that I had that. I don't know for sure that it went to the right place in the end, but because I ended up going out there to work with one group and I ended up not finding that was going to be productive. And I moved over to another group, which was headed up by IFA, International Fund for Animal Welfare.
Oh, slow it down, man. You're saying it so fast. Tell everybody what that is.
Yes, the International Fund for Animal Welfare. They are absolutely unbelievably noble. They're saints. They do what they say they're going to do. They're there at the front lines, and they certainly were. They set up this veterinary tent, and they were absolutely incredible to work with. And I spent my whole time with them. The greater good people that I was with ended up, these poor people, they checked on me every day, but I never saw them because they all got hit with COVID and ended up being quarantined in Romania. And I was in Poland. And it just, I got my car and I just drove myself around and found
you know
the right
what,
places
though?
to go.
That's awesome. You didn't say, well, that's it. You pivoted. You pivoted.
I thought about saying that's it.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't know where to go, but honestly, the greater good people checked on me by phone, and they made sure everything was okay, and it was great, and it was great being there. And the biggest thing was in the despair that we're feeling about the world's condition right now. That border was a half a mile to a mile long corridor of people giving to other people.
Really?
So whether it was food or supplies or tents for women and children to rest in or anything people needed. And our veterinary tent was number 2 in that border crossing. So right there, when people came across, we were right there to take care of their animals. And it just was incredibly, for me, rehabilitating. It wasn't about me, but just to be there and be able to exhaust some of this pent up sorrow was really, I've never done anything in my life that felt better than this.
Hey, everybody. We're speaking with Dr. Gary Weissman. He is the president and CEO at a great, I think it's kind of an example of how the 21st century animal shelter should be. It is the San Diego Humane Society, and he's telling us about his experience helping out in Poland at the Ukraine border. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk more with Dr. Gary. So you guys know, sit and stay. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life Show. I'm talking with Dr. Gary Weissman. He is an amazing veterinarian, and I consider you a pretty darn good friend. And I used to live in San Diego, and I moved away, not because of you, but because of family reasons, to Texas. But let's bring us to the Poland-Ukraine border. And I think you wanted to give a shout out to some other folks that came with you. I think a Dr. Andrew Kushner, is that right?
Yeah, he was terrific. He actually got there a day before me. We went separately. He ended up flying into Krakow, and I flew into Warsaw. They're about 3-4 hours apart.
Okay.
He got there a day early. He actually signed up to work directly with IFA, the International Fund for Animal Welfare.
He says that so good, so easily. Yeah, I bet you mumble that in your sleep.
Oh my God. I say prayers of gratitude to them in my sleep because they were really wonderful. But Andrew's this amazing veterinarian.
Good.
He was a shelter medicine vet here as an intern. And then he did a second internship in wildlife medicine. He's such a great vet. On top of which, out of the blue, I learned that he is Ukrainian and he speaks fluent Ukrainian.
Oh, so my dog.
He was absolutely amazing there. He truly was. Wow. But we went separately and we went without knowing the other was going. And it was just nice to see a friendly face there that I knew. And he was astonishing. Basically, the only thing I regret is that I couldn't speak the language, and we had interpreters, but people spoke directly to the interpreters. There was such a wall between, if you didn't speak the language, being able to speak to the people that needed help. I just was so jealous of him being fluent and everything.
Well, but let's talk about that. You were saying before the break that you were in tent number 2, and what were you seeing? I understand there was some dog that you helped reunite, one named Slava?
Yeah, Slava. So that turned out not to be His real name, of course, we didn't know.
Was he traveling to Poland under an alias?
Alias, I think so. Yeah, he'd been seen for a couple days on the streets in Medica, which is the border city that is where everybody was crossing. The weather was terrible.
Was it cold, rainy, what?
Yes, cold and
nothing
cold and
like San
snowy.
Diego weather.
Yeah, and rainy, cold, rainy, snowy, sleety, haily, all of that. It was just really, really inclement. And seeing him out there by himself, it just was heartbreaking. So this incredibly wonderful young British soldier was there who wanted to sign up for the Foreign Legion. He wanted to go across into Ukraine, but he was holding off on that. So he ended up at the refugee area with us at the registration, which was there to help all of the volunteers that were coming in. And he saw this dog and he just fell in love with this dog, but couldn't get near him. So a wonderful woman from IFA actually helped get this dog. She was so patient. We went out together with food and finally got the dog. The dog was adorable and wonderful.
What kind of dog do you think? What kind of breed?
Yeah, probably a shepherd collie mix.
Okay. So about a 50 to 70 pound dog?
Oh, no, smaller than that. Probably 40 to 50, maximum.
All right.
And, we said we're going to find the family. If it's a Ukrainian family that lost their dog, oh my God, we got to get this dog back to them. And then we ended up realizing that there was almost no way to do that because people were coming from Ukraine to Poland. That was just the beginning of their long, arduous journey. They then had to get buses or trains to another city in Poland, fly somewhere else, somewhere probably to Spain, from Spain to maybe Mexico City to Tijuana, come to the United States, or they'd go somewhere else in Europe. But whatever it was a long way with their families, and there's no way to get this dog back. But guess what happened?
Wait a minute, drum roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 weeks later, found the family. It's
my
Ukrainian
gosh.
family, and Slava went back to his family, and they were ecstatic to see him. I understand. I just wished I had been there to be able to see the reunion. It would have. Now
I know you don't.
I would have died.
You don't speak Ukrainian, but I bet you know what Slava means in Ukrainian.
I do. It means victory. It means victory. So Slava had a victory. It was definitely
my
a victory.
Gosh. So obviously you're not in a 5-star hotel eating bonbons. Did you feel like your Air Force days and boot camp were kicking back in?
It was a little bit rougher than that. Than my boot camp days, but it was fantastic. I mean, it was small. It wasn't really rougher than boot camp, but I went to officer camp, so it was a little better for the officers.
Okay.
Honestly,
yeah.
But it was not. It was difficult accommodations, but they were in hotels. They just weren't in the hotels that normally tourists would want to go to.
Yeah.
So they're a little rough, but the hard part was that the lodging was a 2-hour car ride away from the border, because the border, all the motels and hotels were taken by the refugees, and they should be. So I went to a little town. You'll love the names. Little town called Chesho, which is spelled with anything but those letters in the English language. Lots of Z's and lots of R's, and it was just a wonderful little town. But it was 2 hours away, and 2 hours away in the pitch black and snow and sleet. It was when they say you're holding your steering wheel and your hands are white. Yeah, that was kind of what it was like.
What was it like for you as a veterinarian and someone that operates a leading shelter to see people come with cats in their arms and dogs on leashes? I mean, that just shows you how much, if you really say what is the most important asset you have, it's not the diamond ring, right?
No, it's your family, and your family includes your pets. And if these people have lost everything, then they have a suitcase in one hand, kids holding onto a coat in the other side, and in their arms is their cat. I mean, honestly, that is everything that's important to them. And Arden, you hit on it right away. The world, while we feel like we're regressing in some ways, this attachment to animals is proof that we have evolved from the days when disasters would happen and people would have to leave their animals behind. And they did because we didn't even people didn't think about it. Remember Katrina and
Katrina was a watershed, wasn't it?
It really was. It really was. And now we know that these animals are an absolute part of the exodus. They're part of people's families, trying to seek shelter and safe haven somewhere. So having that veterinary tent 2 tents in from the Ukraine border, from the Guard, was just amazing. It was just proof that this is what's valuable to people.
So when you came home, what did you do with any of your dogs?
Oh my God. What do you think I did? Yep. They were all over me. I haven't been away from them that long ever. My young shepherd, never. I've never been away from her that long.
What's your doggy's name again? I forgot the young one.
Rosie.
Rosie.
Yep. Rosie the Terrible.
Is Rosie getting better?
She is getting a little better, but she's still a noisy German Shepherd. She really is. But she's the sweetest dog. It was just wonderful to be able to just collapse on the ground with them and see those two again. But I'd go back in a second, and I'm thinking that sometime over the summer would be good to go back once there's a little bit more control of the Ukraine side. Once we get diplomats back in there and there's some infrastructure, I know that the Ukraine side is where they're going to need help. I'd love to go to Lviv and bring some of our staff from the Humane Society and really be able to help out the shelters that are there. Because the animals that cross the border were the lucky ones. The ones that are left behind are the ones we're all worried about. Yeah. And that would be a chance to help them there.
Well, you mentioned you had relatives. Your Ancestry.com was humming, wasn't it? Because of your what side of the family, mother, father side that were Ukrainian?
Both. Both are Ukrainian. You'd think I know some of the language, and I don't. I actually know a little bit of Russian, and that helps a little bit, but not much. Although Ukraine, I understand now from being there, was the original language, and it evolved, well, right now we would say maybe not evolved, but it changed into Russian on the Russian side, and it's all interwoven. That whole part of the world is all, everybody's attacked everybody, and countries have been part of other countries. Just thought we were beyond that.
So how can people help at your shelter or others? Not everybody has big fat checkbooks, but what can you suggest that those listening can do their part, just like you do for others? What can some people do in a small but mighty way to help wildlife and animals?
Well, first of all, with companion animals, think about adopting from a shelter or rescue group first. Absolutely. These animals are a responsibility. They need us, and we made them, and we should probably take some responsibility for that. So adopt. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you have a shelter or a rescue group near you, they may need supplies. And often there'll be Amazon wish lists that go on their website, take a look at that. Or you can volunteer, which we're always looking for volunteers. And they can do anything from veterinary medical assistance to helping in administration to being greeters to help guests find adoptable animals. And most shelters have that across the country. So those are great ways to help out.
I love it. And people can find you all by going to sdhumane.org, correct?
That's right. You got it right. Sometimes I say it wrong.
But I know the year. It's 2022.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Gary Weitzman, for being on our show. And I will have you back again. But everybody, thanks for tuning in. And thanks to our sponsors. And until next time, this is Arden Moore saying to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there, paws up from Arden. Take care.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.